Hello and welcome to another edition of Personal Health and Fitness. I'm your host, Chad Marshak. If you've been watching our program lately, we actually have a series that we're producing 12 episodes called Body Symmetry Transformation. And this is program number 2, titled Corrective Exercise, focusing on posture and stability. So since this is the second of 3 exercises in this series, it's a little bit more advanced. We're going to continue with demonstrating exercises that are going to help someone who is just beginning an exercise program iron out any muscle imbalances, correct any postural problems, and work on those faulty movement patterns. So keep in mind that this is really, this program is intended for those individuals that are beginning an exercise routine. I want to say lose 20 to 30 pounds. So second series, here we go. We're going to start with a warm-up. Chase on my left is going to do more of the advanced exercises, and Jared on my right is going to demonstrate more of the modified versions. But for the warm-up exercise, they're going to both be demonstrating the same exact movements. Chase is going to be moving towards the camera, and Jared's going to give you a different view from the side. So we're going to start off with a medicine ball walk. And you're going to do approximately 10 reps in each direction. Now this exercise is somewhat of a tricky movement in that you want to bring the ball, the medicine ball, over your forward leg, kind of swing it over the forward leg. And the reason I like this exercise so much, it's a horizontal medicine ball swing and or walk, is that it helps to mobilize the thoracic spine, the mid-back. So you get good movement through the mid-back region here as you turn to the right or the left, and most people are kind of gunked up in that area. So it helps to mobilize, give you good movement side to side. The second warm-up drill we're going to demonstrate is a skier. So the skier, you're going to perform this for approximately 30 seconds. Ready, set, go. For the medicine ball walk, the horizontal walk that we just demonstrated, use a relatively light medicine ball. If you don't have a medicine ball, you can use a light dumbbell, 3 to 5 pounds. I think each of them were using a 6-pound medicine ball, so you don't need a lot of weight necessarily. You just want good movement. This exercise is a skier. It's a real basic movement, just side to side. You're just moving your legs in unison, your feet in unison, side to side in a skier type fashion. Good way to get the heart rate going. And that's 30 seconds. All right, and the third and final exercise we're going to demonstrate as part of our warm-up is a simulated jump rope. So you're going to simulate jumping rope for 30 seconds. Ready, set, go. A lot of people have trouble jumping rope, or they don't have room in their house, maybe if their ceilings are too low. Really simple exercise in that you just simulate. Imagine you have a jump rope and you're jumping. So again, these second 2 exercises, the skier and the simulated jump rope, good way to just get the heart rate up. The first exercise, good way to mobilize the trunk and the mid-back and get your hips working as well. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, time. Good. All right, those are our 3 warm-up exercises. Now we're going to move on to the corrective exercises. And again, if you watched the previous program, focus more on the basic fundamentals and establishing a base of strength. This is a little bit more advanced. We're going to focus a little bit more on postural exercises and stability. This is the second program. Again, all 3 programs involved in this series of 12 programs. The first 3 programs are going to focus more on getting people kind of tuned up. So Chase is going to demonstrate the more advanced exercise of this first circuit. Jared's going to demonstrate the more modified version, the easier version. Chase is going to demonstrate for our first exercise a split stance squat, and Jared's going to demonstrate a body weight squat. You ready? So each of you are going to do 10 reps. You have the easy part. Chase has to do both legs forward. You ready? So count your own reps. Go. So the more modified version here, Jared's going to just perform a basic squat. His feet are going to be about shoulder width with his feet pointed out slightly. You want to sink your hips back. Keep your weight distributed through your heels. Chase is performing a split stance squat where one foot is forward, one foot is behind him. This is a little bit more of presents more of a balanced challenge because of the split stance nature of the exercise. You want to make sure that you keep your knees and your feet aligned with your hips, so which is going to give you a little bit more stability and support. And Jared's going to demonstrate from the front another set of 10 reps. The cool thing about this exercise, it's a great way to stretch the psoas, the hip flexors, and plus it's really going to train those glute muscles and hamstring muscles, develop good strength. Now you notice neither one had any resistance. Again, this is more geared more for a beginner, somebody who's just getting back into physical activity, so you don't need to necessarily add an external load, a weight. But you can get to that. We're going to get to that eventually. All right, the next movement, we're going to focus on working the middle and lower traps. So Chase is going to demonstrate what's called a scapular movement pattern, and Jared is going to demonstrate an easier version called a modified scapular movement pattern. A lot of people have issues related to posture, and typically the lower and the middle trapezius muscles here tend to become weak and inhibited, and we want to strengthen those muscles, which is going to help draw the shoulders back and help with the cervical positioning, your head centered more over your top of your spine. Jared is going to place his hands behind his head, interlacing his fingers. Chase is doing the more advanced version. He's going to rest, both are going to rest their head on a, say, a rolled up towel. Chase is going to start with his hands over his head, elbows straight, with his thumbs pointed up towards the ceiling. So each of them are going to perform, Chase is going to do 10 reps with his arms in 2 different positions, and Jared's just going to perform 10 reps, bringing his elbows up. So as Jared brings his elbows up towards the ceiling, he's going to focus on squeezing these muscles between his shoulder blades. That's where your lower and middle traps are. And Chase is going to do the same thing, just kind of pause here at the top for a 1 to 2 count. It's really going to stimulate those lower and middle traps. It's really important when you do this exercise that Chase is demonstrating to keep your thumbs pointed up towards the ceiling, because we want to activate those lower and middle traps. If your hands are down, it's more rhomboids, and we don't want to do that. So we want to de-emphasize the rhomboid muscles and really work on these good middle back postural muscles. That's good form there, Jared, very good. This again is a little bit easier than what Chase is demonstrating. So after you complete your repetitions, again, we're doing this in kind of a circuit type fashion. So we've got 4 exercises for each circuit. In the first series, first exercise we demonstrated was a split stance squat and a body weight squat on this side, the easier version. Chase just demonstrated the scapular movements. Jared demonstrated the modified scapular movements. Now we're going to move on to a core movement. And this core exercise is called a hip plank and a modified hip plank. So this is kind of what I call a 2-for-1. It's going to stress your hip rotators, your external hip rotators, and also your core, your trunk. The more advanced version that Chase is demonstrating, he's going to align his ankles, knees, hips, and shoulders, nice straight line, and then he's going to lift his foot up, and he's going to hold that for about 20 seconds. Jared is going to demonstrate the modified version where his knees are bent at 90 degrees. And this is definitely a tough exercise for those hip stabilizers. I can see Chase over here kind of shaking like a leaf. Are you cold or it's just tough? Time, that's 20 seconds. Teasing, that's a tough exercise. So go ahead and turn to the other side. You ready? Set and up. So Chase, the more advanced version, lift that leg up. Try to keep your joints aligned in a nice straight line. Your forearm is positioned, your elbow beneath your shoulder at a right angle. Forearm at a right angle. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, time. Good. And that's the hip plank. And next we're going to move on to jump 180s and then do squat jumps. All right, the jump 180 that Jared's going to demonstrate. And then Chase is going to, Chase is going to demonstrate the jump 180, and Jared's going to do the squat jump. You ready? You're going to do this for 20 seconds. Ready, set, go. So Chase is having to rotate 180 degrees, catch himself, and then rotate. And Jared is going to squat down and jump up. So you want to make sure you push those hips back when you do this. And if you have any knee problems or back issues, this probably is an exercise for you. It is not. So don't do. You could do something else like maybe running in place. 3, 2, and 1. Good. Okay. So we just completed our first circuit. That was more of again, a circuit for the legs, the postural muscles in the mid-back, core, hip movement pattern, and then we just did a cardio exercise. So the next circuit we're going to feature is more for pushing and pulling to help the shoulder stabilizers as well as the muscles in the back that are involved in drawing your elbows back, retracting your shoulders. Also a core exercise, another core exercise where we're going to use a Swiss ball on the floor, and then another cardio exercise for the lower extremity, a line hop and a calf hop. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the next exercise. Again, Chase is doing more of the advanced version, advanced demonstration. The first exercise we're going to do is a dumbbell one-arm floor press, and then Jared is going to demonstrate the dumbbell floor press. So let me just talk about quickly why you want to use the floor when doing a pressing exercise if you're a beginner. A lot of people have shoulder issues where maybe the rotator cuff muscles aren't particularly strong, or maybe the scapular stabilizer muscle groups in the back that help with shoulder movement aren't particularly strong or developed yet. So the floor acts as it actually helps protect the joint. It limits range of motion. So the elbow is going to hit the floor, it's going to stop, which causes your elbow to form about a 90-degree angle. Limiting range of motion is going to protect the posterior part of the shoulder capsule. A lot of people get in trouble when they're doing bench press type movements because they bring their elbows down too far and compromises the integrity of the shoulder joint. The floor prevents that from happening. So for somebody who is a beginner, when they're doing, say, a pressing movement for the chest or the shoulder muscles, then the floor is a great way to prevent and or limit that range of motion. So Chase is going to press the dumbbell up one side with one arm at a time, which is going to make him really use his core stabilizers a lot more. So you want to fire your abdominal muscles when you have one dumbbell in your arm. Jared is going to demonstrate with both arms moving simultaneously, much less core activation, much easier to do, yet effective as well for the chest and the shoulder stabilizers. Bend your knees, press your feet into the floor. Each of them are going to do, Chase is going to do, say, 10 to 12 reps on, with his right arm, then switch to his left arm. I recommend doing your non-dominant side first, so if you're weaker on your left side, then start with the weakest link. Start with your weak side. Limit the number of reps you can do. Say if you can't do 8 to 10 reps on your left side, you don't want to do 15 to 20 reps on your right side. So let the weak side serve as a reference point in terms of how many repetitions you're going to do total. Again, very good core exercise because the core stabilizers have to work quite a bit. Nice fluid range of motion. Don't have to be herky-jerky when you're doing this exercise. Make sure that you use a weight that you can handle safely. A lot of people get in a hurry when they're getting back into, say, a fitness program, when they're first starting a fitness program for the first time. They're a little bit, some people tend to be a little bit too rambunctious and use too heavy of a weight. You always want to make sure that the weight that you select that you can complete for, say, a set number of repetitions, 8 to 15 reps, whatever reps you're trying to complete, that you're able to complete, say, that number of reps without, without failing, in essence. So you always use good form and err on the side of too little weight rather than too much weight. Next exercise, we're going to do a pulling pattern, a reaching tubing row, and a conventional tubing row. Jared's going to demonstrate the regular tubing row, which is a little bit easier. Now we have dual tubes that we're using for this. You can have one single long tube and put it around something that's stable. If you have these dual tubes, that's even better. So Chase is demonstrating the split stance version, what's called the reaching tubing row, where one foot is forward, one foot is behind him. It's really important that this forward leg, you really drive it into the ground, which is going to activate the hamstring muscle and the hip muscle. You notice his spine angle, nice and straight here. So he's going to stand up and he's going to pull into his rib cage and then reach out in front of him like he had to grab something off of a table. So this is really kind of a whole body exercise in that the hip stabilizers have to work, so the glute and the hamstring are eccentrically loading or lengthening as he flexes his spine, as he bends forward. And as he pulls the handles into his rib cage, his lats and his mid-back muscles have to work, back of his shoulders. Jared, on the other hand, is doing an easier version where he's using a parallel stance with his feet, sinking his hips back. He's still going to get some glute action. He's keeping his head in a nice neutral position, and he's going to pull into his rib cage. Now, Chase is going to shoot for about 12 to 15 reps with each foot forward, and Jared's going to do a total of 12 to 15 reps in this position. Now, if you want to isometrically hold that position, driving your elbows back and hold it for a 3 count, you can certainly do that. That's going to make it a little bit more challenging and fatigue the muscles a little bit more. Chase is doing a nice job. Again, driving that forward heel down. He's nice and stable. About 80% of his body weight's on this forward foot as he reaches forward. Okay, that looks good. Very good. That's one of my favorite exercises, a reaching tubing row. The next series we're going to do a Swiss ball plank with your arms extended and then a floor plank. Now, if you haven't used a Swiss ball, it's a great tool. I think it should be a piece of equipment that anyone has. If you don't have a lot of money, they're relatively cheap, but very versatile. Hundreds of exercises you can do with a Swiss ball. So Chase is going to do, again, the more advanced core exercise where he's going to get in a push-up position and stabilize the ball. Now, this can be a high-risk exercise for some people, so you want to be careful. If you have shoulder issues or you don't have very good core strength or balance, you may not want to do this exercise. But if you have pretty good core strength and you want to advance, say, from the floor and to this more advanced version with the Swiss ball, you can certainly do that. Jared's going to demonstrate the modified version, the easier version, where it's just a floor plank with arms extended. And so you're going to hold this position for about 30 seconds. You want to keep a nice neutral cervical spine. You're looking down at the ground, pushing up through your shoulders. Nice straight line. He's not letting his hips sag. If you let your hips sag too much and have a bow in your lower back, you're going to have a little stress here in your lumbar spine. You don't want that. Chase is doing a good job pushing up through his shoulders, not letting his shoulders collapse. He's keeping his feet about hip width, and he's really driving his torso away from the ball, which is going to activate his shoulder stabilizers as well as his core. So a lot of core action. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, time. Good. Now if you notice at the end, Jared got a little tired, which is common for a lot of people where their shoulders kind of collapse. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you push away as far as you can, kind of round out your upper back. I call it a push-up plus position, which is going to draw a muscle called your serratus anterior into the picture and force it to do its job at pulling the scapula into the rib cage. So it's a very weak muscle group on a lot of people. That's a great way to strengthen it. And then the more advanced version that Chase demonstrated, even harder yet. All right, the next exercise we're going to demonstrate is called, this is a calf exercise, a line hop. Chase is going to demonstrate that version, and then Jared's going to demonstrate a simple basic calf hop. And you're going to do this for about 30 seconds. Ready, set, go. So Chase is moving side to side. The ankle stabilizers have to work a little bit harder, as well as his hips, because he's moving laterally. Jared's just demonstrating the basic calf hop, which a little easier than what Chase is demonstrating. And you're just going to bounce up and down on the balls of your feet. Try not to let your heels touch the ground. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, time. Good. All right. So we just completed our second circuit. Again, we've developed this program for those of you that are, say, sedentary or want to try to start an exercise program. Again, this is the more advanced version of the program number 2, corrective exercise, posture and stability. So a lot of people have issues with posture, and they're stabilizing muscle groups. The small muscles that help to protect joints typically are not strong. So if you're going to start an exercise program, it's a good idea to start with some of these movements. They're going to help make exercise safe and fun so that you can enjoy it and that you don't get injured. And that's why we're featuring this program today. Okay, now we're going to go on to the corrective stretching, which is really important. So after you complete this mini workout, you can do some corrective stretches. The first exercise we're going to demonstrate is a lat stretch against the wall. Both guys are going to demonstrate the same exercise, but you get a different view with each of them, one head on, Jared, and then, of course, Chase over here to the side. So for this exercise, you want to align your backside against the wall. It's important that you position your glutes and your lumbar spine, your lower back, and your shoulder blades against the wall, and get that head against the wall, looking straight ahead. So your feet are going to be about 6 to 8 inches away from the base of the wall. Hands together, and then you're going to try to palm the wall. You want to try to keep those elbows relatively tight. Most people, 90% of the people that I test every year, have tight lat muscles. The latissimus dorsi muscle is a very big, powerful back muscle that is really tight, especially for people that do a lot of weightlifting. Usually you develop even more tightness and dysfunction over time, so it's even more important to try to stretch the lat muscles. And what you want to do for this exercise is try to palm the wall and hold that for a 5 count. Now, if you try this exercise at home and your lower back just flies away from the wall and your butt flies away from the wall, chances are you have really tight lats. So if you have a partner, your partner can help facilitate this stretch by driving the elbows back. Keep your head back against the wall. A lot of people have a tendency to get their head away from the wall. Don't do that. So you're going to push for about a 5 to 10 count, and then let your partner hold that for a 5 to 10 count. So you go ahead and keep your hands up. Now you hold it for 5 to 10. Push. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now your partner's going to come in and push. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Butt against the wall, right? Good. And keep those abs engaged, and that'll help too. So one other little pointer on this one, drive the heels into the ground. It's really important that you drive your heels into the ground. Keep your feet down. That's going to help you keep your butt against the wall. That's one of my favorite stretches to do for everyone, but especially for a beginner who wants to work on those postural muscles. Tight lats have been shown to create a lot of problems in the pelvis, a lot of low back dysfunction associated with excessively tight latissimus dorsi muscles, these big powerful muscles here in the back. The next exercise we're going to demonstrate is a rocking groin stretch. The rocking groin stretch is a great exercise to lengthen the adductor muscle groups and help with the floor of the pelvis. So you want to get into a kneeling position on the ground and point your toes out. So, Jared, go ahead and place your hands on the ground. Typically, I like to place hands on the ground when I'm doing this exercise. Some of you, when you're trying to do this exercise, are going to experience a massive tightness in your groin region. So you have to be careful with this one in terms of how much rocking you do. And if you notice here, Jared's kind of bringing his hips back slightly and then rocking them forward slightly. By doing that, you're going to get kind of into different areas in the groin in terms of stretching that big muscle group, the adductor muscle group, the groin. So just move back and forth. Spend maybe 45 seconds roughly performing this stretch. But again, very important, keep those feet pointed out. Okay, that's good. Excellent, that's the rocking groin stretch. Next, we're going to do the kneeling hip flexor stretch. The kneeling hip flexor stretch is another important stretch because it helps to lengthen the psoas. The iliopsoas, the hip flexor muscle group here in the front of the hip, is often tight on a lot of people and can create a lot of dysfunction in the pelvis, which can cause oftentimes low back pain. So stretching this area is really important. It's also a great way to lengthen the abdominal muscles by lifting this arm up overhead. So if your right foot is behind you, the trailing foot, then your right hand should be above your head with the thumb pointed backwards. If you notice, Jared's getting a nice stretch here through his abdominal muscles. It's lengthening through the psoas, the hip flexors, up through his abs, and he's even getting a little bit of a stretch here in his shoulder joint and his mid-back, his thoracic spine. So a really good, effective stretch for that region. Typically you want to hold that for roughly 30 to 45 seconds on each side. Make sure you keep your head straight, look straight ahead, never down, and never up either. Just straight ahead, straight ahead, straight ahead. Perfect. All right, and the last stretch we have, gentlemen, is the figure 4 stretch. And this is for the hip rotators. The hip rotators are often tight and restricted. And so for this one, you're going to lie on your back. Let's start again from the ground. Just straighten your legs. So what you're going to do, go ahead and get in position now, guys, is you're going to draw your knee up and then kind of take the opposite leg. Go ahead. And lean back. And you're going to use this leg that's bent at 90 degrees as a driver. You're going to drive the knee into the ankle, which is going to help push the foot backwards slightly. Now you can tweak this position by taking your hand and placing it on the knee and driving the knee down towards the chest or across the chest slightly, which is going to give you a different response to the glute here, stretching the glute. So typically you want to spend, again, 30 to 45 seconds on each leg. There's no set rule necessarily. If you're exceptionally tight there, you may need to spend a little bit longer time. You know, these static stretches are, you just have to use common sense in terms of how long you want to hold the stretch. And don't let your pelvis roll backwards either. You want to keep a pretty good length. Keep your hip on the ground when you're doing this. And that's the figure 4 stretch. Excellent. All right. Good job, gentlemen. Well, that's the end of our circuit. All right, we just completed a warm-up, a set of warm-up exercises followed by 2 circuits that are going to focus more on correcting any postural issues and addressing any instability issues in joints. So again, the program today, program number 2, corrective exercises, posture and stability. We have a series of 12 that we're going to show you this year that hopefully will help you get in pretty decent shape. If you have questions about what we do here at Body Symmetry, definitely check out our website at bodysymmetry.com. Make sure you check out freefitnessvideos.com too, where we have over 600 individual exercise videos where you can use it as a resource to learn more about health and fitness. Thanks again for joining me on another edition of Personal Health and Fitness. Until next time, I'm your host, Chad Marshak. Hey, Quinn and Riley.